Welcome back to Season 9 of The Art of Custom. In this episode, we're pulling back the drywall on the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing phase. We'll discuss the trades and the decisions that make this phase so important to how you feel every day when you're living in your dream home. Enjoy.
Nobody puts their electrical panel on a mood board. Your plumbing runs are not what we deem, Instagram worthy. And your ductwork is never going to be a pin on your dream home board. But the way your home feels every single day, the switch that is in the perfect spot, the water pressure, the silence, the temperature, that's all decided in a phase of construction that most clients never think twice about. In fact, it's a phase that, when viewed from the outside, kind of looks like, not much is happening. We call it the MEP phase: mechanical, electrical, plumbing. The invisible work that becomes the invisible luxury. Today, we're talking about who does it, how they got on our job site, and what it means to never have to think about it yourself. The acronym MEP might not mean anything to you if you haven't built before, but it means everything when it comes to your home's livability. And Melody, that's really true. We talked about framing in the last stage, but today we're going to dive into the systems phase, which is really the last stop before the walls are closed up. So not only is the foundation phase been important, then you move on obviously to framing, but the MEP phase, there's so much going on there. It's so critical to get that right, because once you insulate and close up the walls, it's hard to go back.
The drywall, that's kind of that moment that all the fun stuff starts to go in. So
True.
We're going to get you guys there, I promise.
It's interesting because in the Midwest where we're building, most people call it drywall, but out west where we're building, it's called sheetrock. So we'll probably use that term interchangeably as we go along in our season this year. But the bottom line is, you're absolutely right. It's critical. And so that's why I think this is a good topic to broach on our podcast.
All of what we're doing up to this point is so trade specific. And so we wanted to kind of pull back the curtain, peel back the drywall.
Peel back the drywall, yeah.
To let you see what happens and why those folks are on our site. So, and that's one piece of the process that I actually don't have a ton of insight into. I'm always, if somebody wants to get on our trades list, I'm always like, you'll have to talk to Kim. He vets all of our trades and just transfer. So this is going to be a learning experience for me too.
That's what I'm here for.
There's a deliberate process that we go through. So where does that all start? How do trades even get on your radar?
We want to make sure that we have the best of the best for what we're using. Now, what do I consider the best? I think there's three things. Number one, quality of work. Quality of work is extremely important. Number two, timelines and timeliness is something else. But then also value. We want to make sure, because we talk about with our clients, we want to be known as a luxury home builder who builds a beautiful home, who builds it on time, but quite frankly, equally important is at a good value. I use the word good value because building the homes that we do, these luxury homes, they're not inexpensive, but you can build them so the client feels like they're getting a good value. So that's what we look for in our trade partners as well.
So if all things are the same and you get two bids from two contractors to do the same job, what would push you towards one more than the other?
Well, we typically, in both of our markets, will try to bid out most of our key components for construction to at least a couple of contractors, because as we are trying to provide the best value for our clients, we want to confidently be able to put in the lowest bid in our budget for our client. So if we know we have two or three contractors that we've worked with, that we're comfortable with, that offer good values, and one happens to come in with a lower price on that particular project, we will put that contractor into our budget confidently because we've worked with them before. And that allows us to kind of assure our clients that we're looking out for them and truly pricing the project as appropriately as we can because we're paying attention during the budgeting process.
I know that we have received the Golden Circle Award here in St. Louis for the amount of HBA member trades that we use. How important is that list?
Well, I think it's very important because we've been a member now, we've been in business 22 years, and we've been a member of the HBA for 21 years. I just think that the membership in the HBA carries a lot of weight in my mind because the HBA is not only a champion for the industry, but they're continually looking after the consumer because they're monitoring that construction prices don't get out of control because of too much regulation. But also, it's a great networking opportunity. It's a great educational opportunity. I was the president of the St. Louis HBA back in 2016 and 2017. So I have a really strong affinity toward that organization. And to me, anybody who is a member of that organization really takes their business seriously, the industry seriously, is always willing and wanting to learn more through the educational opportunities. So I think it's pretty important, and that's why we do stress that we really want to be working with those who are members of the Home Builders Association.
Sometimes our clients will stress about the trades. What are those points that it's like, okay, it's time for us to move on? And
it's pretty simple. It's quality of work, and it's not meeting deadlines or timelines. When we set out to build a home in our contract, we have a estimated number of days to build the home, and we try, as long as there's no pandemic or if there's no tariffs or anything like that going on, which can affect the timeline. We really do try to build our homes within a certain timeline. So really, Melody, what it's going to come down to is the quality of the work. If we're not getting the quality of work that's expected, if they're not meeting timelines, and then quite frankly, during the warranty period and the punch list period, if they're not responding and coming back quickly to take care of any issues that might have come up, we just don't work with them anymore.
When you think about some of the trade partners who we've been with for a long time in either market, what did they do early on that kind of really earned that spot on our bid list?
One of our core values is what? Unmatched communication. Communication is one of the key things, I think, no matter what industry or what business you're in or what career you're in. You have good communication skills, you return phone calls, you return texts and emails, you do what you say you're going to do. If you say we're going to be there on Monday, we're going to work for 2 or 3 weeks and we'll have you completed, that goes a long way. So really the communication component is one of the most important things. And then the quality of work. I'm going to say quality of work a lot because that's who we are as a luxury home builder. You've got to deliver the quality. And the quality is going to be behind the walls. We as the builder and the inspectors who are coming in are the only ones who are going to see it. And so we have to make sure that it's done and done right. And in order to do that, you have to have the right trade partners that you can trust because these walls are going to get closed up. Everybody's going to see the pretty finishes, the shiny finishes and say, what a beautiful home. But like the intro read, if you don't have the right water pressure, if you don't have the right water temperature, if you don't have the right temperature in the house, room to room, floor to floor, it's not going to make a difference how beautiful the home is. It's not performing the way it should. The client won't be happy.
We don't embrace the bid process because we're building quality. And
well, you have to an extent, but I know exactly where you're going with it. We don't embrace it because we're not just automatically going to take the lowest bid from anybody. We want to make sure we know these trades and we're only going to have contractors we've worked with bid our project. That allows us to confidently take the lowest bid.
It occurred to me that in the custom home process, how important that is, though, too, to know that you can trust the quality of work. When you go out, maybe if you're a spec builder or you're building something over and over and over again, your trade is going to know exactly what they're doing when they're coming on site. But there's a problem-solving component to being a trade in custom construction. And how do you prefer trades to bring problems to you?
Just be open and honest about it. For example, if they see a floor joist that's in the way of a shower drain or something like that, they need to tell us immediately so we can work around that. We either go to the client and say, hey, would you consider a different type of a drain? Or we have to, move a floor joist or add a floor joist or whatever we need to do. Anytime they see a problem, we want them to come to us directly and tell us, this is what we're dealing with, so we can then become the problem solver, communicate with them, come up with 2 or 3 different options. Then we go to the client and say, here's what we're dealing with, right? A house that's never been built before. So you're going to run into those pinch points, as I call them. Have solutions. Go to the client and say, here's what the problem is. Here are a few options. What do you think? And we never want one of our trades to not bring something up to us. An example might be if we're trying to center lights in a room and there's a truss or a second floor joist or something in the way. Don't go off center, even by a half an inch or an inch, thinking nobody will ever see it. We will find it. Somebody will see that and it will have to be redone. So the trades we work with know that we demand perfection. They'll come to us up front and tell us, even if they're off by a small amount or whatever problem they might have run into, because we want to come up with solutions and present those solutions to our clients.
So I want to talk a little bit about the Hibbs Homes Building Standard. We try to make this relatable across the country. And so we call it our building standard, but there are a lot of other builders out there that build to high performance standards as well. Tell me how that approach to building impacts who we might consider for a trade.
It affects, quite frankly, more so the HVAC, our heating and cooling contractors, and somewhat plumbing contractors. Not as much our electrical contractors, because there's only so much you can do with your lighting packages and low volts and audio video packages and things like that. But the HVAC contractor is critical because they have to understand the way we build, that we're trying to downsize our equipment as much as possible. And whether that's through automated dampers or whatever another application might be, we're trying to downsize our equipment, provide the best heating and cooling possible with the right size, I call it, equipment. ERVs, energy recovery ventilators, or the HRVs, the heat recovery ventilators. Those are sophisticated parts of our HVAC system that help us heat and cool our homes more efficiently and more effectively by using air that's coming and going from the house that we are controlling. And we want to make sure that we're controlling it at the right time. We want to make sure we're tempering the air as it comes in, if it's cold or goes out. So our HVAC contractors, we want them to really understand the way we build and the high performance nature of how we build our homes. Back in the old days, most HVAC contractors would upsize the equipment as much as they could because they did not want to get a phone call in the middle of summer if a room was too hot. What their philosophy was, well, let's go with a 5-ton unit here. We might only need a 4-ton, but if we go a 5-ton, it's certainly going to satisfy everything. And then all of a sudden you have short cycling in the house. Once you have short cycling, you don't have consistent temperatures. You might have humidity issues and moisture issues in the house. It's not the best way to solve a problem. The best way to solve a problem is to look at it scientifically and have a contractor that understands the best way to go about solving those issues isn't always by upsizing your equipment. It's by taking a long, hard look at the right size equipment, the right locations for all the registers. How are we using returns? Where are the returns located? Making sure that the returns are properly sized. So the HVAC contractor is critical.
So what does it look like in the field to hold a trade accountable to the Hibbs standard?
It's easy because they know us, we know them. There are expectations out there. And remember, we had the conversation just a few minutes ago. How do you get kicked off of the Hibbs list? It's not following through and building to our standards. So it's really just the familiarity that you have with your trades and working together with them year after year. They know what you want and we know what they're capable of doing. So it really is not nearly as hard as one might think because everybody just understands the way in which we build.
Before the walls are all closed up, you have all your systems in place. We do a couple of walks with our clients. And this is kind of the part that they should expect, but maybe not everybody knows happens. So describe the process to someone who's never been through a walk.
The first thing we want to do is, because we don't want to redo work, is even though, let's start with electrical, even though you have an electrical plan that's provided by your architect or your draftsman, because most municipalities are going to require it for permitting or at least want to have some sort of an idea of where your plugs and switches and lights and everything are, we will actually spend, and this takes many hours, we will actually do a walkthrough with every single one of our clients. This has to do with high volt and low volt and audio video. So we will literally walk room to room, floor to floor. We will point out where the switches are going, where the plugs are going, where the lights are going, where's a can light, what's a flush mount, what's a pendant, where's the sconce. So they will have a really good understanding of exactly where these are going to lay out. And they always change, and they should change, because until you walk the house and understand where these components are, you're not going to know that they're in the right place until you have that walk. So that's what we do with the electrical walk. Plumbing, much quicker, because all we care about is, okay, where's the controller for the shower? Where are you going to turn it on and off and regulate your water? Where's the shower head heights? Are we going to have a bench here? Are we going to have a rain head? How high do you want your shower head? Where do you want your hand held? So that's a much easier walk, but we do it because we think it's important. If you're building a custom home, everybody's different. So you want to make sure you understand exactly where they're looking for, all of their locations. HVAC is not as critical, but we do pay attention because if someone has a particular wall hanging or particular furniture that they really want and they want to put it in a location, we have to make sure that there's not going to be a register there. We have to make sure there's not going to be a return there. So we do a quick walk there just to understand exactly how they're going to furnish the home to make sure that we don't back ourselves into a corner through the HVAC process too.
As somebody who lives in a production home, there have been so many times that I thought, why is that vent there? Now I get it.
That's the beauty of the custom home is that, there's many different walks, or at least your builder should take you through many different walks and meet with you. But at a minimum, after framing, you should walk it to make sure that everything is framed up the way that the plans show or the way you want it. You've got to do an electrical walk. You really need to do a plumbing walk. You should do a quick HVAC walk as well. And then just thinking down the road, you're going to get together again and you'll do some walks toward the finish stages. But if you're building a custom home, that's one of the questions to ask your builder is how many times are we going to be able to do a walk with you so we understand exactly how this home is being built? And the answer better be several. I can tell you now.
What, from the builder's perspective, do we do that makes our trades want to work with us again? I know we have a lot of loyal trades that if they're not bidding out something, they'll actually come to us and be like, hey.
That's a great question. And quite frankly, is you do want to become what they call the builder of choice. Becoming a builder of choice is pretty simple. Just treat everybody with respect. So many times we hear from trades that builders are rude, that builders will blame them or yell at them or whatever it is. Take care of them. For example, we take pizzas out to the guys periodically during the day and give them something to eat. Pay on time. We really work hard to make sure that we are paying within 30 days, but they get to know us and they know that we are good, that we're going to get them paid within whatever that time frame that we're trying to. Build a great home. And like I say, just treat them fairly. Those are the key things. I think communication is one of the big ones, though, because especially in this industry, as busy as it is right now, so many times you'll have a builder or the superintendent call up and say, hey, over at lot 31, we're ready for you to come in and rough in the electrical beginning Monday. And this is the Friday before. So we always start by 6 weeks out. We say, here's what our schedule is. At 4 weeks, we confirm the schedule. At 2 weeks, we confirm the schedule again. So the trades know exactly where they are and they can trust our scheduling.
Is there anything recent memory where a trade partner has caught something that maybe we hadn't seen yet on either a plan or on the site that they've been able to help us correct because of their skill and craft?
And our superintendents could probably answer that question better than I could because they're communicating with the subs all the time. They're on that job site every single day. And so they're walking through there. Just one recently where we're having an I-joist issue with one of our shower drains. And so that was brought to our attention. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't brought up early enough, but the good news is they didn't just go install a drain around it because they knew it would not be centered in the shower floor. So they brought it to our attention. So now we as a team are starting to work on what can we do and what is the resolution to it. So little things like that. And there's usually nothing, what I would say, major involving the MEP phase. It's just the little things that can add up to the performance of a home. And we want to get on top of all those little things early. So even if it's something as minor as, hey, I can't fix the 4-gang electrical box into this opening because of all the studs that are in the way, what are we going to do type of a thing. So something as little as that could make all the difference in the world because the switch is supposed to be there, the client thinks it's going to be there, and then you have to come up with a different game plan.
So the trades that show up for the walks, they're not necessarily the same people who are showing up on site, right? So who actually from our plumbing trade is going to be your person who's on site?
So they actually do. The actual, a lot of times we'll have the foreman and or the owner because we love dealing with smaller contractors where you're dealing directly with the owner because they and whomever is running the project or those who are actually on site doing the work will be there for the walkthrough. You get a large contractor and you're right, they're going to send somebody and that's not going to be the person who does the rough-in and that's where the questions start happening. But that's one of the reasons we do enjoy working with kind of those owner-operators because they are taking control and they're taking responsibility from the beginning. And quite frankly, in both of the markets in which we work, we deal with a lot of the smaller owner-operators, and it's awesome.
So what are the skills and insights that they're bringing to the walk that
Years and
helping out?
years and years of experience, honestly, because you might have a client debating over, do we really need 4 can lights and a ceiling fan? Or what about in this coffer? What should we do with it? And a lot of times they'll come up with some really cool ideas about, hey, I know you've got a cabinetry or a bookshelf that does this or this. Have you thought about lighting it in this certain way? So they just bring a lot of experience to the table. And our designers in St. Louis, our designers in Utah, that's why they're involved in these walkthroughs as well. That's another key takeaway. If you have a designer you're working with, make sure they're involved in the walkthroughs with you, because it's kind of a collaboration. Everybody's putting their head together and coming up with some really cool ways to make sure that your custom home is going to finish out beautifully.
So I think I'm kind of on the side of the audience. I don't know what I don't know about this, right? And it is kind of not something that you think about a lot. So what have I not asked you about?
I think you've done a really good job asking all the questions. What I would stress though is that rely on the expertise of the builder, your superintendent, the actual trade themselves, and your designer. I think that that's probably the most important thing. Come prepared. I mean, a lot of times people have not really thought through their electrical, their lighting plan, their lighting purchases, and that type of thing. I think it's important to really understand what you're planning on purchasing and using in your project, because again, the plans might show pendants, but you don't want pendants, or the plans might show one ceiling fan with a light kit, and you would rather have can lights. So I would say from an electrical standpoint, really do your homework and think about it. HVAC is just, be open to the contractor you're working with, because if you're working with a high-performing builder, they're going to try to do things that are a little bit different in order to provide you with a home that's very comfortable, but also very efficient, which affects heating and cooling bills. But it also affects your indoor air quality, which is huge. So just go into it with an open mind and understand that rely on the experts and utilize the experts. Ask questions. We love it when you ask questions. And so utilize the experts that you have on your team. The MEP phase doesn't look like much from the outside. No dramatic framing moment, no finishes to photograph, and really no selections to obsess over. Just a job site full of people doing work that is about to disappear behind drywall forever. But here's what we really want you to take away from today's episode. Every time you walk into a room and the temperature is just right, every time you reach for the switch in the dark and it's exactly where you expected it to be, every time the shower pressure is perfect and that house is quiet when it should be, that's really not luck. That's a decision somebody has made, a standard somebody held, a relationship somebody invested in long before your home ever started. The invisible work is an invisible luxury, and you never have to think about it because your builder did that for you early on.
Have any questions about the process or ideas for future episodes? Bring them to us. Email podcast@hibbshomes.com, call 844-HIBBS-20, or find us at Reddit at r/Art of Custom Building. The Art of Custom is produced by Hugmonster Sound. Our editor is Sarah Fink, with original music by Adam Frickfordine. Thanks for listening.